California missions. Whose idea was this? It was King Charles III of Spain's idea. In the year 1768, the monarch of Spain found himself in a difficult position. Spain had claimed a vast area of land along the western side of North America more than 200 years before. The land was rich, fertile, and near the sea. It was the perfect place to start cities and safe harbors for Spanish ships. So far, however, there had been no Spanish settlements started there. The king heard that the Russians were interested in settling the land. If Spaniards did not move in soon, the land would quickly fall to the Russians and be lost to Spain forever. At this time, land was money, and the Spanish monarch could not afford to lose this rich land. The purpose of the missions. The Spanish king saw the missions as the easiest, fastest, and cheapest way to settle the frontier. Instead of paying lots of money for soldiers and settlers from Spain and Mexico, the government wanted the missions to transform the Indians into loyal Spanish subjects who could hold on to California for Spain. However, the Catholic Church and the missionaries considered converting the Indians to Christianity as their main purpose. How many missions were there? There were 21 Spanish missions in California, placed such that they were a day's ride apart via horseback, and so that they were in proximity to drinkable water, irritable land, and the sea. Who built the mission? The missions were designed by the Padres and actually built by the Native Americans they hoped to convert. Each mission was unique in a few ways, but they all had the same basic plan: a large four-sided building with the patio in the center. The church was usually placed in one corner of the square. It was always the tallest and grandest building. All the rooms in the square building faced the patio. The back was reserved for the unmarried Native women who worked in the kitchen. The other three sides contained the rooms for the two priests of the mission, workshops, a kitchen, storage room for food, and the mission office. The rest of the Native Americans lived outside the mission walls in huts. Surrounding the mission were vast fields used for growing crops and feeding livestock were located. The people of the mission. The Padre. In Spanish, the word Padre means father. The Padre of the missions were symbolic fathers. They were priests of the Catholic faith whose duty in life was to spread what they believed to be the Word of God, the Catholic faith. The priests who took charge in the California missions truly believed that they were doing the best thing for the Native Americans. Religion meant everything to these priests. Because of their religious backgrounds, the Padres were much kinder and gentler leaders than their soldiers. Most of them truly wanted to help the natives, and many of them did. The Native Americans. The Native Americans who lived on the missions came from many different tribes and spoke many different languages. Once they got to the missions, they were taught how to speak Spanish, practice a new way of life, and observe a new religion. Some liked it, but many did not. Some were passive to the Spanish, while others attacked the missions in rage. Most tribes came to the mission out of curiosity. They wanted the small gifts the fathers brought them: beads, clothing, and blankets. In many cases, it was gifts like these that Padres used to bribe the natives to build the first buildings of the missions. Many found out too late that once they stepped foot inside the mission, they could not. The soldiers. The soldiers posted in the missions usually did not live there full time. More than likely, they rotated between the Presidio and the missions. There were 4 presidios in California. They supplied protection to the missions, and the missions supplied them with food. The soldiers at the missions were there to make sure that the Native Americans did not run away or revolt. If they did, it was the soldiers who punished them, usually with whipping. Very few soldiers were required to keep a revolt. The end of the missions. In 1821, California became part of the newly independent Mexico. The number of settlers had grown to about 30,000, and the missions controlled about 1/3 of the land. Many of the settlers desired mission land for themselves. The Mexican government agreed with the settlers, and between 1834 and 1836, they took the missions from the Catholic Church and redistributed mission lands to the Indians. However, most of the Indians lost their land to opportunistic settlers and former soldiers.